Hello and welcome to the Framework version 4.3 Introduction Tour. I'm going to go through the major features of the framework and the control panel, and then there will be separate videos for each of the specific components of the system that you can dig into for more detail. So what we're looking at here is the control panel for the framework. And you'll see that you can scroll down and take a look at the different features. Now, some features are going to be enabled for different themes. This particular demo is done with the Onyx theme, which is our latest at this time. However, you may find that you have more or less features available here. Most of these should be self-explanatory. If you need more information, you can always just hover over top of the information icon to get more information. So on this first page, you're going to find these are what we call the Quickstart Settings. If you do nothing else but this, this is a good place to start. Most of these things will be initialized for you for your first initialization. And then you shouldn't have to make any further changes here. The look and feel, and depending upon again which theme you have, this may look differently, but this is where you can go and change the colors of the text and some of the different regions of your pages, as well as the font types. We also allow for you to choose all the available Google fonts here. Moving along to branding, this is where you go and if you want to overwrite the website title, or maybe you want to use a graphic logo, we give you that opportunity here. We also allow you to choose and set your fave icons. Moving along to the social networks, this is where you define what your social network pages are. So you may have a Facebook page, but you might not have a Google+. Well, then you can delete this. Or maybe you have some of the others here as well. The social icon widget that we'll come across later on in our instructions requires you to first have your social networks defined here. Custom code. This is where if you had any analytics code or something specific that you're adding into the system that needed to be put before the head or before the closing body tag, or maybe you had some custom CSS, this is where you would place it. We have our external assets. So this framework supports SoundCloud, and you can choose to have it on or off. It is off by default. And then also we've enabled the ability to load the Font Awesome vector icon set, and you can choose whether or not you want it loaded from the Content Delivery Network, which is recommended, or locally. These are the snippets that show up within the footer of your page. You can choose to delete them or change them as you wish. And then what gets displayed on the page when somebody types in a URL or visits a page that doesn't actually exist on your website. So that's what this 404 page is all about. In addition, we also have an instructions tab which goes through all the different bits and pieces of the framework and everything that you should possibly need to know. We have a changelog here that just goes through all the different updates that we have done over the course of the lifespan of the framework. So if you want to see if maybe something has been worked on recently, you can take a look here. And of course we have a support tab here. Just gives you a couple links to go and initiate a support ticket if should you need it. Moving along, we have a number of other different parts apart from this control panel here. We have new to version 4.3 the layout editor. Now, whereas in previous versions of the framework we had hard-coded pages that we had pre-designed for you, such as a contact or a team members or photo slideshow or maybe the home page, we've now made that into a dynamic system. And you can go and edit these prefabricated layouts however you see fit. There is going to be a tutorial on how to work with those separate from this. But then each of your pages can be, you can apply any of these layouts to any of your pages. We also have a sliders control panel where you can go and edit the sliders that are included. Typically each theme has a primary slider. For Onyx it is the carousel slider. And the carousel slider might not be available for your theme. Perhaps the carousel slider is brand new and we didn't have it available for yours. So this is where you go to change the images and the text that scrolls by, usually on your home page. We also have contact forms. This is where you can set up the ability for somebody to fill in a form and have that information emailed to you. We have, in this particular theme, we use something called focal boxes, and it's something of like the previous iteration, which was called a call to action. So you may have focal boxes or you may have call to actions. Essentially, it's a way of animating some text or some images into the page to really draw your attention into. It's kind of like an advertisement. Active backgrounds is fairly new to the framework, and this is where you can have a background area, sort of such as like an image in the background behind some text, and have it either stationary or scrolling up and down. You can also have maps as a background, and you'll see that just a little bit further on. Now, actually, I could probably just pull up the demo of that. An active background would look like, as you can see here behind this section here, we've got an image in the background. Also down at the bottom, you'll see that back here is a map as well, and that's considered an active background. We also have the content panels. This is where you can choose to have a bit of information displayed either with tabs or pill buttons or as an accordion. So we've gone and created a default one for you to play around with if you wish. In our current version of our framework, we also include some special custom post types. We have quotations, which is used by our testimonial rotator, FAQs, team members for the About Us page, and portfolio if you want to display. It's very much like the team members, but it's not necessarily about people, it's about things. And you can create a couple items for your portfolio. And then at the very bottom here we have the update theme. Occasionally we will add a patch or a bug, or maybe add a new feature, such as we're doing here with version 4.3, and you'll be able to click that and then upgrade your theme. Moving along here, just as we have had, we spoke earlier about the layout editor. I'm just going to briefly go and show you. So for example here, the home page. Okay, so this is brand new to our framework. You're going to see here that there are all of those layouts that you saw on the layout editor. You're going to see them listed up here, and of course the primary page is selected. We have different types of pages. We could choose to change this to an FAQs page if we wanted to. Probably don't. We just want it to be the home page. The default is where you just have text displayed in the content region. Essentially, if you go and change the page type to one of these here, where the content region is displayed within the page will display either the text, the blog, FAQs, team members, or sitemap. We've moved the rich text editor down into a tab, and then of course we can go and take a look at how the page is roughly laid out here, just as we would have seen from the layout editor, but this also gives you yet another layer of overrides. Again, I'll go into that in more detail once we get to that video. And then of course what we used to have called as search engine optimization, we're now calling page header titles, just to be a little bit clearer, and you can go and define this information within your page just to give a little bit more clear information. This is what shows up in the page header title widget, recently known as the Seo Title Widget. And that pretty much covers the tour of the back end of the framework. For more details, please look towards the specifically the Layout Manager tutorial, the Sliders tutorial, and we're going to have tutorials that pretty much cover just about any of these items here coming up here shortly.